and welcome to this latest episode of On the Grass. Tom and I are delighted to be joined today by Rory Delap. How are you doing, Rory?
I'm good, thanks for having me.
Good, you're very welcome, very welcome. What have you been up to? Any good games coming up? What have you been up to?
I've been trying to get to a few games, and was at Britten, Peterborough on Saturday. Unfortunately, Peterborough, went against the grain and managed to win 1-0. But yeah, it was a decent game.
Yeah.
Not much quality, but teams when they're down that end sometimes like that.
It's about the result, I suppose.
Take the result, yeah.
And it's going to be about the result for you now, because we're going to put you under pressure now. We've got a little icebreaker game.
Okay.
The four-corner model where you've got physical, I'm going to forget them now, physical, social, psychological and technical,
Yep.
right? You're a coach.
Yeah.
Which of those would you prioritise before a game? And you're going to have 30 seconds, and when you're ready, and if you've got any quibbles, come up with them. When you're ready, we'll put the whistle on.
I'm ready, yeah.
Okay.
I think psychological. I think I've done 14s to senior. Find out where the lads are at, where the heads are at, what they need, how much motivation they need, if they need it at all. Mm-hmm. But making sure they're prepared mentally to go into a game.
It smashed
quick,
the time
wasn't it?
there. That was good. That was efficient. That was.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't even need the referee's final whistle. We're going to have the referee's final whistle. Thank you. I think that's Tom's referee's whistle for Bucks later on. Isn't it?
Yep.
So yeah, you've seen quite a lot of Premier League action this season, have you?
I watched live. I watched a lot of it at the start of the season. Obviously, Liam was fit at the time, so I got to majority of the Chelsea games. But I've watched quite a few on TV, and it's going to be an interesting season. I think both ends of the table.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I know he's going to finish bottom, but
well, I didn't want to say anything.
We won't go into the Wolves memorial session.
Psychological will keep you in a good place.
Yeah, keep me in a good place. That's it. Yeah, but I mean, I've got some stats here, and then you tell me what you think. So, Tom and I reckon football's changed in the Premier League, and we're probably not alone this season.
Yeah.
Passing's at a 15-year low. We've got teams passing less to get forward quicker. High turnovers are falling. More teams are going long. Set piece goals are increasing. 25% of the Premier League goals in a recent study from corners, free kicks or throw-ins. Long goal kicks are on the rise. We saw Nick Pope's throw.
Yeah.
Who was that against?
Newcastle, Benfica
last night.
Yeah, Benfica. Yeah. And would you believe it? There's more long throws per game, more than doubled this season to almost 3.5 a game. Is that what you're seeing when you watch football? And obviously you're renowned for your long throw. But...
Yeah, I think if you look over the last 10 years, Pep's had a big influence on how teams, not just in the Premier League, play, but across the board. My other son was on loan at Ilkeston, Mikulova, Buxton, and you're seeing it in those divisions as well, where teams are trying to play the way out. The thing Pep's always had is he's had the best players in the world to work with, which makes things a lot easier. Yeah. If you look through the academies, majority of the teams will look to play out, and they want technical and players. The consequence of that is you end up with the defenders that can't defend and head a football.
Okay.
And I think that's become prevalent, that people are putting more long balls in because the lads that have come through the academies don't understand how to defend that type of situation, the longer balls, throw-ins, set plays, and I think there's a correlation in a lot of teams having set play coaches, but personally I think it's a bit disrespectful to say that's a new thing. Mm-hmm. It's not. It was done since I was in Carlisle's youth team. It was just the coaches or the manager's job to do it as part of the programme. So it's no less or no more importance today than it was. But you've got an isolated coach to look after that side of the game. And I think people are probably taking that and, rolling with that one a little bit more than probably should. But personally, that's why I think there's teams are doing it, because they're getting success from going longer.
Yeah.
More direct.
I mean, is it fair to say that people used to denigrate Stoke's success? You got to FA Cup final, you got into Europe under Tony Pulis, and people say Stoke's success, Rory Delap's long throw, which is obviously a sort of caricature, it's a simplification. But do you think now that it's now, you've got Arsenal, one of the most stylish set of players, and yet I think Timber's had more throws than anyone else or something this season. Do you think now it's seen as sophisticated? Were Stoke pioneers?
No, because listen, there's not much you can do in football, believe it or not. There's only a few formations you can play. There's a few types of football you play. Total football, you play direct. But Wimbledon, for me, my generation, they were the sort of archetypal types where the two big lads up front and they go long and utilise the physicality, and things come around, and it's coming around again. There's going to be a team, I think, in the next 2 or 3 years that go back to that play 4-4-2, they put two big men up,
right,
and they'll get promoted and do well in the Premier League. You look at the teams that came up last season, the 3 teams came up, tried to play football. If you look back through their goals they conceded, a lot of them were from trying to play out and losing the ball in their half. Pulis, when we got promoted, he was massive on the data and science and stuff like that.
Right.
He'd got it out that there was 78% of the goals the teams relegated conceded were losing the ball in their own half. So he said, we'll take that out of the equation.
Right.
We'll go long, we'll play in their half. At least then we've got bodies behind the ball if we do lose it. But I think, the team when we were at our best, you had Matt Etherington, Jermaine Pennant in the team who had to play football. It's just we played football in the opposition's half rather than take 20 points. Listen, I love watching all sides of the game, but if you haven't got players good enough to play out from the back and the goalkeeper, why would you take that risk?
And just to add to what you mentioned there, if you're watching a game, do you prefer it when teams go long, or do you prefer the play out from the back and the patient build?
I prefer watching attacking football. My background from being a player and a coach is probably predominantly been more what your defence does while you're attacking, and I love that part of the game.
Yeah.
So if you watch Man City, Liverpool, those types of teams, whatever they're doing with the ball, I watch what they're doing without the players that haven't got the ball, and they're ensuring that if they do lose the ball, they can win it back as quickly as they can in the opposition half. Goes back to what I was saying about Pulis, about losing the ball in your own half. I think last season Liverpool, for me, were the best team to watch because they played out from the back, but if it had to go long in one pass, they played a brand of football that they almost look like, how do we score a goal from every opportunity? Whereas you go Man City, and even though I love watching Man City in attacking, sometimes they're a hard watch. To get there. But once they're there, it's fascinating, the movement and the passing and the risks they take. But
do you know what, Rory? I'm going to interrupt here. Sorry about that, because actually you played the game a bit, but I actually get bored watching Pep's football. When they're just like passing it, and you can feel it side to side. Okay, we're usually, as Wolves fans, we're on the other end of that. But it's going side to side, side to side, side to side.
I understand it as well, and it's when you're paying for a product that you want entertained, you've got to produce that. For me, when you're watching teams that you're not sure what they're trying to do or achieve, that becomes a boredom because they're not trying to get to a goal quickly. I understand why they do it, because if you've got the ball, it's less likely you're going to concede a goal. But the entertainment for the fans, for me, so Liverpool, Newcastle, probably the two most entertaining teams last season. I think Liverpool have dropped off that side a little bit this year because players are getting older and they've had a lot of change in the front line, so that'll take a little bit of getting used to. But I would never have a go at anyone, whether you're Wimbledon or you're Pep. I understand, because Pep's record is ridiculous for the trophies and his win percentage and stuff. But I think for the fan, that brand of attacking football is much more exciting to watch.
And what's that, as a player, what's that transitional period like when you're going from player to coach, and what lessons, like for example you mentioned about the data. Have you used any data in your coaching experiences or anything like that?
Yeah, you have to, and people think it's a new thing. It's not. Like when I joined Derby in '98, I think Derby were the first team to use Prozone. So it was just a porter cabin in the car park, but it had massage chairs, and you'd sit there and you could look at the data, how many passes during the game. You would have little arrows. It was a little bit basic, but you got, it's obviously moved on and advanced a lot. But you could click on any of your arrows and see the action. So whether it was a forward pass, and it might be giving the ball away, but it was worth it because the risk and the reward of giving the ball away in that situation. Whereas you might go on the defensive half and you go, and that was a coaching tool back then.
Steve McLaren was really
Steve
a pioneer
McLaren was
there,
a
wasn't
massive, but Jim Smith signed it off, and people call him a bit of a dinosaur. He was so far ahead of his time, it's untrue. But that's why he employed Steve McLaren. Steve Round, Steve Taylor at that time, they were all up and coming young coaches and saw that as the future, and rightly so. But you have to use it. For me, it's to help give you a clarity of what you want in your decision. I think if you solely use data, I don't see that working. I know clubs solely recruit off data, and there's some successful ones out there, but there's a lot of unsuccessful ones out there. I think it's still got to be with your eye and your coaching, and have a real feel of a one-to-one, a face-to-face, rather than sat at a computer desk.
Yeah. And while you was coming to the end of your playing career, when was it then you realised that you wanted to be a coach? Was there like a moment, or was it someone that a coach had said to you? Was it always in your mind to go and be a coach?
No. I started my badges. I broke my leg at Stoke when I was 30. And it was out of boredom, really. I was like, right, I need to start thinking about what happens in the future. I don't know if I'm going to come back from this, or educationally I wasn't great. I'm not great sat in a classroom, so I went down the coaching route.
Don't worry, Nils Tom.
Started my level 2 at 30, stretched that out, ended up been doing my B when I was 34, 35, and finished that just as I retired. And even the day I retired, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but Darren Wassell was in charge of the academy. My two boys were in Derby's academy, and he says, like, why don't you come down and take a couple of sessions? And the first day I walked in, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And I was doing the under 14s at the time. I didn't know where it was going to take me or what was going to happen, but from that moment I thought, yeah, I'm enjoying this. And I'd spent 21 years playing under some very good managers, and hopefully took the best parts of them into my coaching career. Yeah.
And obviously that took you abroad as well, going over to Israel and Hungary. What were those experiences like as a coach? Yeah,
it was a bit out of the blue. I'd been let go by Stoke. I'd had 5 years at Stoke with the first team there, and then Robbie Keane, who I'd played with since I was 18, 19 with Ireland, he rang me up and just said, look, I've got a job, do you fancy coming? And it's in Israel. I was a bit right. Spoke to my wife and family, and they were like, well, why not have a little go at it? And went out there, and it's probably the best thing I've done, to go and see a different culture, even though it's in Europe. Obviously it's pretty not a lot of people knew about Israel, but it's been in the news for the wrong things lately. But went out there, took a bit of a risk, didn't know much about the club, but went out there, was really impressed with the owner, who Canadian. There was a English CEO, English sporting director. The language was a bit of a worry, but the whole training ground spoke English, so that part. But as soon as I was there, I knew I'd made the right decision. The professionalism, the way the club is ran, the facilities, and then the football was second to none. It's one of the best experiences I've had going out there. Obviously the situation out there meant we actually ended up seeing the season out. Having to come away when the war started, and then to go back, we owed a loyalty to the players and the staff that we started with to see the season out. And then back out of a job for another 6 months, and then got the opportunity to go to Hungary, and completely different scenario. Club I'd known, big club, and went out there, and it was really difficult. Some of the players' professionalism, sort of was complete opposite of our philosophy and the way we wanted to do things. So that was really difficult to get them on board with us. The language was a barrier with some of the South Americans, and that, so it was a completely different. But we managed to thankfully see the season out and win the league over there as well. So two very different foreign experiences, but I can't advise it enough to go and for people to go and experience that type of thing in a different country.
A lot of the coaches listening to this will be, maybe at a lower level, maybe working their way up from grassroots or whatever. How would you recommend that they get experiences outside of their comfort zone, let's say? Yeah,
whether that's taking an age group you're not sure with. When I was doing the 14s, I was offered the 16s, and I was really nervous the first session. Went in, no problem. Then I was offered the 18s, exactly the same. And I think if you're not putting yourself in a position you're not comfortable with, you're never going to improve.
Right.
If you're comfortable, I'll be honest, I got comfortable at Stoke because I didn't see the opportunity to move up. I was kind of the development coach between the academy and the first team to oversee that, because they had really good players coming through at that time. Really enjoyed it, but then wanted more. And then to the opportunity to go as an assistant manager and have a say on the tactical side of it, the playing philosophy was brilliant, and but it brings the best out of you.
If you challenge
if you've
yourself.
not got that horrible sicky feeling that people get when you're going into a session.
Yeah, okay.
It's probably, it's not the right. I think you go back to Pep, you could see he lost a bit of the motivation, and then he's suddenly got a new staff in, he's got new players, and you can see the hunger and the fight back in him. You can see he's loving it again, and great to see, because it was hard to watch at times last season. But everybody needs that. Ferguson used to change his assistant regularly because of that. He wanted a different voice, he wanted someone fighting against him, he didn't want a yes man beside him. If you not take that type of example from those people, then you're in the wrong sport.
Yeah. And how much into grassroots, we'll talk more about what you're doing now and what your hopes are, but in grassroots terms, what's the when I say lowest, that's the wrong word, what's the deepest into grassroots that you've ever been involved? Obviously you've got a long professional career from the age of 16, but have you ever gone and helped out at some grassroots club?
Yeah.
Or when Finn was at Buxton or whatever, would you get involved at all there?
No, I've always wanted to stay away from been involved with the boys stuff.
Right.
Get onto that a bit later, but I haven't really had the opportunity, because I've always been, this is the first time I've been out of work where I'm not looking to get back in. And I've taken a breather, not for any other reason apart from wanting to spend time with the family. And I was involved for a bit at Duffield Dynamos.
Ah, okay. Go on, tell us about that.
Well, just the coaches that that I knew, some of the players, I'd go down and help do the odd session.
Right.
Letterkenny Rovers in Ireland, when I was back there, when I was playing at Carlisle, I used to do a few sessions with them, and again, it's you get that nerves because the people are expecting, he's done this, he's played that, he's playing at that, he's playing for Derby County, he must know. I didn't have a clue what I was doing when I was doing Letterkenny, you know what I mean? I'd turn up but you go back on memory, and you go back to a session I enjoyed as a player, and hope the players took that, and in one or two sessions, what learning, the biggest probably learning example I took from it was make sure there's nobody doing nothing. Make sure someone's, whether that's a coach that's come along to watch, or one of the players, that there's nothing worse than you seeing a line of players, one coach and a ball, and they're playing in and shooting, and there's 10 people stood there doing nothing. Just stick something on, a couple of cones they have to dribble around or something. It's not, But yeah, that was probably a big learning from doing those sessions. That, but you have to quickly go back to the psychological, where the players at, what level are they at in terms of technically, tactically.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to do loads tactically. You want to get as many touches of the ball as they can.
Yeah.
And I think the most important thing is they enjoy the session.
Absolutely. And talking of grassroots football, last Friday night we had the Derbyshire FA Grassroots Awards event, and Dan Britten caught up with some of the grassroots coaches there.
Okay, so my advice to be a coach would be to make sure it's enjoyable for everyone that's there, whether the best player on the team or the new to football. It's making sure that everyone enjoys it. Also being prepared, so right kit, even for the coaches, make sure you've got the right weather kit. And yeah, it's all about enjoyment for everyone, so the coaches need to enjoy it as well to get the best out of it.
So anybody that would want to sort of get into coaching, I'd probably start by going around like local clubs, probably watching a few matches, looking on the FA, CPDs. If you can find a good club to get involved in, they'll put a lot of time and effort into helping you, finding other coaches to sort of team up with, mentoring, get somebody to mentor you.
Have a bank of session plans, small library that you can pull out at a moment's notice, ideally adaptable. And then you can put a session on depending on how many have arrived, so you won't be caught out, or if the numbers that are there just aren't suitable for what you had in mind.
Yeah, so any advice I would give is just have fun, just make it all about fun, and it'll end up being a reward in the end. You don't have to have any pressure about doing an amazing session. I've had loads of sessions where it's just gone out the window, and as long as the kids have a smile on the face, that's all that matters. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. Literally, just go out there, smash it, and as long as you see people smiling, that's all that matters.
And working with grassroots coaches and as a grassroots coach myself is one of my biggest enjoyments in football. I love it when you go, right, you might have reffed a game, or we're helping the first years out at Bucks or something like that. Like Brassington Primary. I'm going to give Brassington Primary a shout out here, because we had this game at Cromford on Monday and we lost 8-6, and it was their first ever go at 9-a-side. And it was just fantastic, and the spirit was played in, and we were trying to play through the thirds, but then we were getting caught, and then the goalie starts going long. But they take on a certain amount, and then we can build from there. And by the way, there's some talent amongst that, and then you've got the whole range. When you were starting out coaching then at Derby at those under 14s, I remember you telling me you just got this job.
Yeah.
Was the level of coaching, level of play you had similar enough that you didn't have to distinguish between the two levels? You know, oh, we've got to look after that kid who can't run, and look, there's an academy prospect. Was it equal enough with the coaches, the players that you were working with?
Yeah, I think it's difficult in the academies, because you can have a real top player who you think is first team potential or better, and then you've got lads and that you kind of know aren't at the level, and you'll have it in the grassroots. It doesn't matter what team, you know. You can have a Man City, you've got a player that's there and a player that's there. The difference is they're still top players. This is probably one gripe I have with, well, more than one gripe I have with academies, that they don't let those players know and find the level early enough. They're almost kept in too long. They're kept in the systems too long. And my second eldest son been one of those. He was at Derby too long. I could see he wasn't at the level. He knew he wasn't at the level. You'd turn up at the reviews oh yeah, he's doing really well and he's a great lad, and you're going, yeah, well, you know, I was hoping they did it rather than I had to do it. I knew, yeah, of course I knew. It's obvious.
Yeah.
But that happened not just with him, but throughout. And I think people at that level seem to always think, well, he's in here, he must be good enough. We'll wait. There has to be something to wait for, and it doesn't matter if you're 3 foot or 6 foot. There's got to be something to wait for.
Yes.
And I think in your going grassroots, it's very difficult, because it's a community thing rather than a it's almost too professional in
Okay,
academies.
So here's an example then. So we had a game. We had Turnditch Primary playing at Brassington Primary, and one of my coaches on Monday, she was playing against it, and Liam played. And at half time, it's 8-0 to Turnditch, and I think Liam scored most of them. And you came over at half time and you said, I don't want to cut across what you're doing. He said, is there some little sort of caveat you could put in? Could you sort of put a maximum of touches on individual players or something? And do you think that's tenable, or is that taking something off the aspirational players?
I think you can put something in or change positions. You know, because no one wants to get pumped. Like, it's horrible.
And we did.
But like, he played in a game at secondary school, and it was like 18-0, and he scored 16 or something. And I'd never really want to get involved, and I'm sat on the sideline going to the coach, just do something, put him on 2-touch, or make him use his left foot, something without almost disrespecting the opposition, because I understand that can happen as well. But little tweaks here and there, and you play him centre back, or there has to be something. But I think you can manipulate part of it, whether it's the session and the coaching during a game. There's still a benefit to whichever level player, so you can make it easier for one or harder for another, without them really knowing, or the opposition knowing that you're either taking it easy or something, because I know that can cause as many problems as getting the pump in. So it's not an easy one. But
what about you, Tom? Have you been involved? Have you been the lower level player in a good setup, or
harsh?
I've seen him play. But like your mate Callum, at the uni, Callum was at Wolves. Callum Greybanks was at Wolves Academy until 11 or something. He's about 6'10", isn't he?
6'4".
Oh, 6'4", right. But have you come across any of that stuff? And
I mean, I was in a team in school where it was full of like academy players.
Right. Okay.
So a lot of the times we win a lot of games, and like you mentioned, some players would be, the coach would say, shoot with your left foot. If after they've scored 2 goals and say we're winning around 5-0 or something, the game's done. Then there was little chances like that. I rarely got in the team, so I was more of a.
Take him off.
Is that why you're a referee?
Yeah. What I always do with the refereeing is when if I'm refereeing a game and I'm doing kick-ups at half time or something, and I'll drop the ball and I'll just think, that's why I'm a referee and not a football player.
Are you a good referee?
I'd like to think so. It depends. I don't know. I think as long as everyone's happy when I leave the field, but I'm always open to listening to players' opinions and things like that.
Looking to keep developing.
Yeah.
How did you find that, Rory, when you were in the Derby youth setup? Yeah, I remember. Yeah, a player will remain unnamed, but there was this 16-year-old, and I think you had to release him. And he was playing for Ashbourne Aztecs, I think. And how did you find dealing with them psychologically, if they thought they'd made it?
It's hard both ways. The hardest part of my job back then was releasing a player.
Yeah.
But we put plans in place, hopefully, to find the level.
Yeah.
And whether that's Ashbourne or Britten or Mickleover or it doesn't matter, because you've got to find your level and maybe you climb it again. But the harder one's probably the one where they think they've made it. We had an instance at Derby where a player had done something, we'd paid money for this player for the youth team when Derby was spending a lot of money on. He was suspended for 2 weeks. In that 2-week period, he'd turned 17, so turned a pro, got a sign-on fee, went on bigger wages.
Right.
So he walked back in the door on his first day back after being suspended for 2 weeks. He had a Gucci bag, he had like a pair of Louis Vuitton shoes, and he just walked past the coach's office and, morning, I thought, just come back here. I said, you're going to walk back into the dressing room with your teammates, having been suspended for 2 weeks, with about £1,000 worth of kit on. I said,
how's that look?
Anyway, we had a fallout. He actually got the PFA involved.
Really?
On a bullying charge. Anyway, the case came, Jason Lee, remember Jason Lee
Yeah.
from Forest? He was the representative, came in, listened to the Zor, he said, turned to the lad and said, it's probably the best bit of advice you'll ever get. That's 10 years ago. I still speak to the kid now. He's thankfully playing professional football in the lower league.
Yeah.
But he's found his level.
Yeah. Yeah.
He thought he was at a different level back then. And which I don't mind anyone being confident or arrogant, but you have to back it up.
Back it up. And how is that different then when you were coaching at that level, at that age groups, and then you're coaching or managing, coaching, at senior level? How does it vary, senior to youth?
I hope I never changed. I hope I was the same doing the 14s as I am doing senior. I think if you change, that's where you end up losing the players. If you stay, if there's a line and they step over it, you hit them. If they stay
not physically
with it, well,
no,
not under 18s anyway. But, I think as long as they know there's a line, and what that line is, there's no grey area. It's black and white. And if they step over that, they'll get punished, whether that's whatever.
So it's about boundaries and parameters.
It has to be, and I don't think that's any different in any line of business, to be honest. You get grey areas, it's not going to be successful.
Yeah.
And going into the academy setups, from when you was coming through the youth setup and things like that, comparing that to when you watched your two lads coming through, how different was that?
Massively. So there was no academies. The only club that had an academy when I was coming through was Man United, but they were called School of Excellence back then. So it wasn't a full-time training or games program. It was at Carlisle. It was once every 2 weeks. On a Thursday, a group would turn up, and it was there's about 40 players in it. That was from 12 years old onwards. I was released at that at 14, too small, they said. But managed to get back in when I was my last year at school, 16. So, whereas now they come in at, officially they come into the academies at under 9, but teams have under 5, 6. It's ridiculous, ridiculous.
What age was Liam first involved?
So he started when he was under 9.
Okay.
I'd said not to.
Yeah.
I said I didn't like the feel of it. I'll go and play with your mates and enjoy it. And
did he have a grassroots team?
Duffield Dynamos.
He was at Duffield,
he was at Duffield, from under 7.
Yeah,
started. So I used to go down to Mackworth.
Yeah.
On it was the concrete, really.
Yeah.
With a bit of carpet on top. But
the race course held now. Have you seen it now?
No, it's incredible. So.
But he was, so he was with his grassroots team.
Yeah.
And can you remember what the coaches there were like and how they dealt with him? I mean, obviously he's got a professional player as a dad.
Yeah.
And then he's obviously got a lot of potential. How did the coaches deal with him?
I never saw them. I was always playing. So I used to I'd get the odd Sunday where I never had a game.
Yeah.
I'd go and watch the game. I stayed as far out the way as possible. I hated standing by the parents because they were screaming on the pitch at the players, and it was like.
I thought they were all genteel at Duffield.
Yeah, but then there was one. I can remember once at Mackworth, there was no one could take the team, so they were going to have to cancel the game, and the coach went, "Oh, please, just take him." I was like, "Yeah, okay, no problem." Took it, and unfortunately, it was a game. The team was losing. And then there was 30 seconds left or something. Liam took 2 long throws. I'm told he's 7 or 8. Scored. Their parents are going berserk. You're ruining the game. Liam's in tears even though they've won, and I think that's probably the last time he took a throw in. So, and that was the end of my grassroots coaching career. So
because I saw him interviewed. I don't know if you saw it as like on Football Focus or something earlier this season. He says, "No, I don't do long throws."
No.
Thanks very much. First question it was as well. But what have you made of his his progress and so you got 3 children and you're equally proud of all of them. I know that. And what have you made? If we can start with Liam on that one. What have you made of his progress to now, where he's in the England squad when he's not injured, or he has been, and he's playing for Chelsea and winning the World Club Cup?
Yeah,
you must be really proud.
That was a good trip. Yeah, immensely proud. As you say, of all 3 of them. But Liam's, you speak to people and People think he's had an easy route, and it's anything but. You know, he had to leave home, make a decision to leave home at 16, go to Manchester, not knowing really what the situation was, but he's always backed himself. I'd say, you know, and I said, if you work as hard as possible, so there's no excuse. You never know where it's going to get you. You're a good person, like, treat people with respect, see where it takes you, whether that's in a business life or he's taking the football route. You know, and he's not had it easy. He's had his ups, his downs, and but he's always stayed focused that he could make it. And you know, he's not there yet. He's had a big move in the summer to Chelsea, a big opportunity for him. You know, he's unfortunate with the injury. He'd started well, as you say, in America, and then the start of the season. But you know, he's got a lot to do to force his way into the team now.
Has your relationship with him changed? Probably not at all, I guess, is going to be the answer, as he's gone up the ladder.
No. I've always tried to stay away from talking football too much. You know, because I've been through that, and it's what people want to talk about, which is fine, but you don't need your mum or your dad like rattling the cage as well. So you know, I tried to talk about other things, about life. He loves his golf, he loves cars, he loves racing, not horse racing, car racing, and you know, so you talk about the F1, you talk about the golf, the Ryder Cup, and when I go and see him, I try and go and play golf, or he's bought us these darts things so we can play. We've got cameras on, and you know, I don't know how much cheating goes on, but it, you know, it relays over the internet on an app and stuff. So I try and, you know, spend time with him, even though we're away from him and don't see him as you know, as much as we'd like to. But you know, he's been away from home for 6 years now. So
yeah. And you were saying when families get together, and he's one of 3 siblings.
Yeah.
He shows a humble side.
Yeah. He's they fight like hell. They've been in the room for 5 minutes together, and they're arguing and fighting about it. But we brought them up on being competitive. I never let them win anything. Table tennis, cards, and you can see that, and you regret it a little bit times now, because there's no empathy in our house for a loser in terms of if it's a cards or darts or anything. So, but
if all family and friends are wanting to talk to Liam about Chelsea in England,
he'll chat away. He'll talk to anybody, and you know, I'd like to think all 3 of my kids can go into any situation and deal with it. And that becomes a conversation, you know. So whether you're on the golf course, or you're at a meal, or you're at an awards do, or it could be anywhere. You know, someone comes away and go, "Oh, he's a nice kid." Him.
Yeah. And Finn's making his impression at Britten.
Yeah, he's gone a different route. You know, he was released at 16, had to go the trial route, and you know, it wasn't easy for him. It was during his GCSEs, so. You know, that was that end of the COVID period, so everything was messed up, schooling and the football side. So, you know, but he's worked really hard to get to the position he's in now. He's done 3 loans at places that people from a professional club probably don't want to go to, in Mickle-over Ilkeston and Buxton. 3 really good managers and teammates that he's, you know, Finn did an interview the other day. When he was at Ilkeston, Kieran Fenton was a real influence on him. He was 17 at the time when he went up there and played nearly every game. Jamie Ward was the manager. He had Leroy Lita, Lee Tomlin in the team, screaming at him, and it's what my missus was nearly in tears on the sideline. I was going, this is what he needs. He's not going to get that at Burton's youth team. You know, and he's seeing the results of that now, hopefully.
Yeah. How important is that for development as well? Because when players are coming through academies, like we said earlier about the level of if a player's down here, one's up there. The players that are down there, you see a lot of them go into men's football, like you say, for those experiences. How important is that for academy players?
Massively, but again, you've got to be careful physically if they're ready for men's football and what that does psychologically. go back to the psychological, if they're ready for it. I knew Finn could handle the abuse, that his teammates and the opposition and the fans at that level, I presume you've been to those games, you hear every comment.
Yeah.
But they need that as well. So there's a lot to take in. Are they ready? There's players that don't need a loan. There's players that get frustrated, and so Liam was one of those. He wanted to go straight into the being involved every week, you know, whether he was playing or a sub. That's why he did the loan early. Same with Finn, he wanted that involvement just at a different level. You know, but then you look at players like Cole Palmer. He was good enough, he could handle the level. He didn't need a loan. He ended up moving clubs from City to Chelsea, but he was ready for that level. He didn't need the loan. So you've got to work out who needs what physically, psychologically, and in those times they'll learn the other bits. They'll learn the tactical from the coaches and the managers that they work with.
Yeah. And was that their decisions to go out on loan, or was it a group collective decision? Was what were the circumstances like?
No, the players went and, you know, I let them do it themselves. Liam went and spoke to City. They didn't want him to go. He had a fight with them. They let him go on the first one. They said, look, we don't feel you'll play loads. He wasn't bothered. He wanted to be involved in that situation. Wanted a little change from City. They'd just signed Haaland, so he was like, I'm not going to get an opportunity. They had Haaland and Alvarez at the time. Finn was a little bit wobbly, but I felt it's what he needed. He didn't need youth team football, so again, I, without getting involved, I just dropped a few hints that he should go and speak to Britten. There was an opportunity to go on loan, and he took it in the end, and loved it. So yeah, it depends, you know. Two boys are very different people, by the way, completely different people. One's high, everything wants everything perfect. The other one's a little bit more laid back, like myself. So you've got to see what the player needs, and you know, you don't always get it right. But
and where does your daughter sit personality-wise?
She's very similar to Liam. She's wants everything now perfect. So she's found her own route. She's at college at the minute, and she's actually work experience up in Manchester.
Okay. What line?
Interior design.
Okay.
So yeah, she's worked really hard off her own back, trying to find somewhere that would take her, because she's 17, so there's not many. There was nothing local wanted to take her, so she's worked hard to find somewhere and loving it. So
good on her. Is she going to uni? Is she thinking about that?
No, she's like me. She's not educational at all. Me and Finn was in the middle. Liam just found everything really easy.
What,
really
at school?
horrible, yeah. Just so like he's got this maths gene in him from somewhere that's it's mental. What
do you get good exam results then?
Yeah, like really good, but I didn't have to try. You know, one of those annoying ones, unfortunately. But
unlike us, Tom, we have to really work hard.
Yeah.
She's seen his use of apostrophes.
Yeah.
No, it's really hard.
What's an apostrophe?
Fair question. And talking of questions, we've got a few from some of our coaches, and we want you to get in touch. So if you want to email, what is it, Dan? dan.britten@derbyshire.fa.com. Yeah. Then and we'll put that on the link afterwards. If you want to email in your questions, then we want to sort of get talking those with the guests that we have, and Tom's got a few here.
Yeah, so these are from 4 coaches who listen into the podcast, and Stephen has asked, what do you see as the main differences between grassroots and academy coaching?
I would say, in terms of what I see, is enjoyment. I think the grassroots is about enjoyment and the social side and making friends. Of course, it's about improving, and everyone wants to win, but it's not the be-all and end-all. I think academy are put under too much pressure for results, and I don't mean some are actually results, as in the coaches take it personally, the win percentage and stuff, but results of getting players professional contracts into the first teams, and again, but there has to be an enjoyment. Again, it's age dependent, so when you get to 14, 15, 16, it's got to be a little bit more serious, and there's got to be an understanding that where's the end goal for these players. But for me, I think there's not enough enjoyment in the academies at a younger age.
Moving on to the next one, Mark has asked, how do you keep players motivated and focused during training, especially when things aren't going well?
That's a tough one, because you're admitting defeat sometimes, and that could be a session that it might be too hard for the group, it might be too easy for the group. It could be simple, the area is too big or too small. And it takes a lot of, shouldn't say the word, but a lot of bravery to stop a session and say, look, I've got this wrong, give me a minute while I make it bigger, change the teams. You've got the teams wrong sometimes. The biggest thing in senior football, I would say, that ruins a session is the refereeing.
It's your
and
fault.
the coaches do the refereeing, and I've got to the point where I actually test people, so I will give decisions the wrong way just to intensify a session.
Okay.
Because I know people get angry. Usually intensifies the session. So there is occasion where I bet the players won't agree with this, but I will give intentionally wrong decisions.
Do you tell them that in advance? Or
No,
just throw it in?
no.
Yeah, okay.
No,
yeah,
no.
don't
I won't ever admit to it.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
But I've had players bring me video footage of decisions I've made, and I will just stick with blank. Oh, I got it right. That's wrong. It was in, even though it's a yard out.
Ball went out of play. Cromford. It went out of play, and we're 1-0 up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a big game, but I'm really
Yeah.
keen for this game to go well. And it goes out for a throw, and we forgot to appoint linesman. And I saw it go out, and I didn't say anything because it's not my place. And then they go and score, and I turned to the coach. I said, "What should we do?" And what do you think she said?
Give the goal.
Leave it.
Yeah.
Let it go. And I think that was, with you were saying about you might change the area or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you do that as the coach yourself, and how much do you say this isn't quite working, lads? What should we do here?
It depends if you need to stop the session and do it, or if you can do it, if you can get a couple of coaches or staff around you, or people, or even the players. Sometimes just say, look, when you get a minute, walk that out 2 steps or walk it in 2 steps. But keep playing
I see.
if possible.
Maximum
But
touches.
sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
Or you might do it in a drinks break.
Yes.
You might just whistle, have a drinks break.
But what I mean is, how much will you involve the players in the decision making on the session that you're running?
You should notice. You should recognise it.
But what if you do recognise it? Oh, sorry. What if you do recognise it, but you want them to be involved in the decision making?
Yeah, there's no issue in that involving the players.
Yeah.
But you'll have a sense, more of a sense that what needs to change. If you ask the players, you think it needs to get bigger. You ask the players and they say, "Oh, need a smaller area."
And it's knackered you. Yeah. Okay.
So,
yeah.
you can ask their advice, but be prepared to nail them again. Yeah, thank you, but you're wrong.
As Brian Clough kind of said once.
Going back to it, bravery to admit you were wrong.
Yeah.
Really.
So Jonathan's asked, what was the best, or who was the best or most influential coach you've played under, and has it shaped the way that you coach today?
It'd be hard to probably name one, but Mervyn Day at Carlisle, Jim Smith, Gordon Strachan, and I'd have to put Pulis in there, and they all had one thing in common, is they were all honest. Whether it was good news or bad news, they were honest, and I've stuck by that. I'd rather hear I've been left out of the team because I played poorly or didn't do something I was asked to do, than I'm giving someone else a go, I need to rest you, or no one wants to hear it. And if you're truthful, even though it's not nice sometimes, the player will respect you.
Final one, Sophia has asked, how do you encourage team morale after a loss?
Yeah, it's very difficult, but for me, you debrief it, you take part of the ownership of yourself, in terms of, even if you haven't, I'll always say, look, we might have got that slightly wrong, that was partly wrong, but also this part, that unit didn't work, or that player. Units and team you can do in a big room, sometimes individually might have to be done face to face, because some players don't take criticism well in a group.
Yeah.
What I noticed from doing the 14s to senior is the smaller the group, the more open and honest the players will be themselves, and if they know without you telling them, you're in a far better place.
Yeah. Well, Rory, thank you very much for coming in. We've really enjoyed your stories. We don't need the referee's whistle, because the referee is going to be sacked after that whistle. But we really hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you again, Rory, for coming in.
Cheers.
We'll catch you again next time.